Just so you guys know, I'm gonna be cutting these videos down. I'm gonna try and make them a little more concise, especially for the Instagram portion, maybe 1 to 2 minutes max. And if I'm gonna be diving deeper into a topic, I'm gonna cover that in length on the YouTube channel. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Chris Kunz with the Rich Casino Real Estate Group. On today's episode of Real Estate Simplified, I'm gonna break down closing costs and what you can expect to pay out of pocket in order to purchase a home. So before we dive into it, you should know that there are two different kinds of closing costs. The closing costs that are associated with the real estate side of things and the closing costs that are associated with the lender side of things, the loan side of things. So if you're purchasing a property with cash, you're gonna be able to get rid of a lot of the closing costs that are associated with purchasing a home. So when you're working with closing costs, typically what you'll find as a buyer is you're gonna pay somewhere between 2 and 5% of the purchase price. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, your closing costs are gonna range in between that $8,000 number up to that $20,000 number. We typically don't see you jump into that 5% range unless you're assuming a lot of the closing costs that are associated with the real estate contract. So that may be in a situation where there's multiple offers, there's lots of competition, and you need to separate your offer from the rest. And so you'll take on more of the closing costs that are associated with the real estate side. Because typically what we'll do is we'll split those costs 50-50 between buyer and seller. And so you can see how you can pick up more of those costs to be more attractive to a seller at the end of the day. And so another reason why that number can vary so much is because different lenders are going to charge different fees. Maybe buyers may be paying for points to buy down their interest rate, which is going to increase the amount of closing costs that they're going to have at the end of the day. So there's a lot of ways that these numbers can be manipulated, and you also have to take into account different escrow companies are going to charge different prices for their fees. There's mobile notary fees and things like that that are associated that can be tacked on to closing costs in order to simplify the process for buyers. But more so what we see is anywhere between that 2 and 5% range is what you're going to be paying for closing costs. So when I talk about those kinds of closing costs in between 2 and 5%, that's money that you're gonna bring to the table when you go and sign your final documents before we close escrow. But beyond that, there's a couple of other additional costs that you as a buyer should be aware of. So for example, when you get your offer accepted, I'm gonna recommend that you order the whole slew of inspections that you can on a property to get a full understanding of its condition, which we've talked about in earlier videos, right? Home, pest, roof, sewer, HVAC, chimney, pool, any inspections that you see fit on a property, you as a buyer are going to bear the cost of those inspections, at least here in Sacramento. In other regions, maybe in like some parts of the Bay Area, the seller is going to pay for some of those inspections up front. But here in the greater Sacramento area, what we see is buyers are paying for their inspections, and they're paying for them within the first week or so after their offer is accepted. And so typically, if you're ordering all of those inspections that I referenced, you're gonna be paying somewhere in the $1,000 to $1,300 range. And understand, you can use any inspectors that you choose, and so those costs may waver a little bit as well. That's gonna be an out-of-pocket cost to you as a buyer that is gonna be separate from the closing costs that you bring to the table when we go to close your deal. And so if we're unable to come to terms with the seller during a request for repairs negotiation process, we can remove you from the transaction and recoup your earnest money deposit, your EMD, which is usually about 1% of the purchase price, your good faith deposit. But understand, you're not going to be able to recoup the costs of those inspections themselves. At the end of the day, it's more worth it, in my opinion at least, to spend that money up front in order to get a full understanding of the property and its condition, so you don't get put into a position where you've purchased this home and you're finding out about some of these things after the fact. And so additionally, another cost that buyers are going to be responsible for during the escrow process is the cost for the appraisal. So once your offer is accepted, your lender is going to order an appraisal on the property to verify the value of the purchase price that's been agreed upon between buyer and seller. That's typically around $500. And again, if anything goes south with the appraisal where we're unable to negotiate with the seller and keep the transaction together, we're gonna back you out of the deal and recoup your earnest money deposit, but you're not gonna be able to recoup that 500-ish dollars that are associated with the appraisal. So differences between closing costs. You have residential and you have lender associated closing costs. Those are the costs that you're going to bring to the table when we go to close escrow. You also have the initial costs of the inspections and the appraisals, which some people do lump into that closing cost number at the end of the day. If you have any other questions about closing costs, how to differentiate them, how to potentially put you in a position where you can recoup more money at the end of the day, let me know. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me a direct message. So appreciate you guys tuning in today. Hopefully everybody is staying safe out there, and hopefully we'll see everybody soon. If you have any other questions about closing costs, how to differentiate them, how to potentially put you in a position where you can recoup more money at the end of the day, let me know. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me a direct message. So appreciate you guys tuning in today. Hopefully everybody is staying safe out there, and hopefully we'll see everybody soon.